Hi there. I'm adjusting my mic here. I got a question from Delija Down Under, and it was about what are your tips for world building and coming up with stories? Um, we have a tendency, I guess, in comics to say, oh, it should be a team effort. You should have like one guy is a writer, and then the other guy is an artist. Maybe another guy's the inker or the colorist or whatever. And it's cool when you can get it to work. Collaboration is neat. And you can, the gestalt effect of having, you know, two or four or five or 10 people working on a thing can make the work a lot lighter. But if you are in the mode where you are developing as a cartoonist, a lot of times you don't have the luxury. You don't have the luxury of saying, okay, I'm just going to get another guy to draw what I came up with, or if you're the artist, I'm just going to get another guy to write something, um, because first of all, it puts you at a huge disadvantage because the guy that wrote the thing can just take credit for all of it, pretty much. I was merely the artist. It was somebody else's creation. Um, so step one is to let's write these down in Word here. The artist must be the storyteller. You have to sort of internalize this as um, a value. Like this has to be huge. This has to be foremost, paramount in your mind. Okay. The second thing is, once you've got that down, all right. So great. How do I make the story? Um, then you have to come up with a story. But here's my tips for that. Make your story one sentence if possible. Yes, the one sentence story. And this is how to start. And if you can't do one sentence, try and do 2 sentences or 3 sentences, but just don't go wild. A one sentence story, I'm going to make one up right quick. I'm going to, let's say, um, Western gunslinger out for revenge. Um, uh, encounters. What could he encounter? We want to be different than just an enemy. We could just say a Western gunslinger out for revenge encounters a new kind of villain. Okay. There we go. That's a one sentence story. A Western gunslinger out for revenge encounters a new kind of villain. It doesn't say he wins. It doesn't say he loses. It doesn't say what the kind of villain is. But you've broken down the whole thing into one sentence. And you got to think of this as a snowflake. You know those paper snowflakes? I'm going to show you. Let's go to Amazon real quick. They have this thing called the snowflake method for writing. And how to write a novel using the snowflake method. We're not going to be writing a novel, we're writing a comic. So here's the snowflake method of writing in 10 easy steps. You start out with a small thing about the story, and then you're going to take your there's the one sentence summary, which I like to use, and then you start to expand it, and you add some key turning points and things. So we could take our expanded story and say, well, what is he out for revenge for? And what kind of villain? And who is our gunslinger character? So we need to come up with our character, or characters. We need to come up with our how the conflict unfolds, and what the ending is. I'm summarizing those 10 steps. Anyways, definitely take a look at the snowflake method. But for me, remember, we're doing comics here. We're not doing a novel. We also want to think about page count. Think about page count and think small. You all those people that want to write 200-page graphic novels and 300-page graphic novels, drop that idea right away. You may actually create a 200-page or 300-page graphic novel, but if you're new, I guarantee you that won't be the case, and that has never been the case with most people. You have to start thinking modular. You have to start thinking nano. You want to get small. And when we think about page count, I want you to get into the habit of thinking about things in 4-page increments. So 4-page, 8-page, 12-page, or 16-page. You can go over these. You can end up with a 5-pager or a 17-pager or something like that. But start with a 4-pager. If you've never done it before, you could even do, if you were brand new, think about 1 page. 1 page. Now, what can happen on 1 page? Zine format. And for that, I'll show you. Hang on. Let me bring it up. I want to show you the video that got me started. Over on YouTube. Marsh Makes Comics. 1 hour comic. This is a great way to get started. This is how I got started with Rabbit Fighter. How to make a mini comic from start to finish, right here. And this involves, like, you get a piece of paper. It shows you how to fold it. He's got another one. It's this kind. This one's Sideburns right here. Sideburns, a frequent visitor to Drive-In Saturday. You see how he's got this page like folded? Right here? Each page, I mean, you could split it into two panels, so you could get potentially more panels, but you're only going to do 8 panels. So that's a good way to start. Look up these videos, these 1 hour comic challenge, you know, the zine format type videos. It's a good way to go. All right, let me minimize this again. Once you do one of those, you need to build up, then build up from there. Zine, ash can, that's the folded in half kind. Ash can to full pages. Think about short stories, chapters, or episodes. Even manga, like you see those giant tankobons, they're only done a chapter at a time. Like, you don't get a tankobon done all in one go. You get, you know, the way they kind of put those out, let's say it's One Punch Man, or, you know, One Piece, or Dragon Ball Z, or whatever else. It's done like 12 to 15 pages at a time. And you want to think smaller. You want to start at the 4 and 8 page format if you can. If your goal is printing, your goal to begin with is probably going to be anthologies. And anthologies are where you have a bunch of stories, because you can't just put it together a 4 or 8 page book. It's just too small of a book. You stick a bunch of things together and you start to fill it out. It comes out to be pretty big. That's another way to go. Okay. Templating. What is templating? Templating is when you find public domain story, or any story, read it, close the book, and try to retell the story. This is one that Jake Parker uses. Let's see if I can find the Jake Parker video. Jake Parker, how to make comics. The one I'm thinking about is how to write short comics. This one right here. This one's tremendously useful. What Jake suggests is you can find somebody else's comic, and if it tells a story that you like, that you're kind of interested in, he kind of based this comic on a Hellboy comic. But there's a lot of them that are public domain, and one of those is Comic Book Plus. This is comicbookplus.com. This is all. So, and you would find a comic that you liked that had, something that appealed to you, whether it was a superhero story, like, let's say, I don't know, we'll find one. Let's get a superhero story, something like, I'm going to go for quality comics. Okay. I'm looking for Smash Comics. There's 89 Smash Comics, right? So this is a superhero anthology that was put up by Quality in the 1950s. And there's Midnight, Bozo the Robot, Wings Wendell, Espionage. This is the Ray, right? All these characters were bought up by DC. That guy is an alternate version of the Spirit, by the way. So let's say you read one of these things, like this Ray story, and you read through it, and it's got some aerial scenes, and the guy turns into the Ray, he saves the day. You read the whole story, you're not going to copy it. You're going to close this whole book. Let's say we're going to go back to the front page, and then we're going to try and write what we think the story was. It's got to be a story that you like, that isn't confusing. You want to make sure that it is simple in the sense of a one-pager, right? I mean, a one-sentence deal. But then you start to break it down, right? One of the things Elijah Down Under said was, I get too many ideas. And you sort of end up in a state of paralysis as you have too many ideas. So in that case, what you need is to organize things. There's a lot of ways to do it. There's, some people use index cards and things. This is a new way that I found. And let's see if I can bring it up here. GPT. Right here. We got a new chat here. Now, the way to use this, you can't have ChatGPT write your script for you. That doesn't work, really. It will give you something, but you have to sort of engage ChatGPT conversationally. So you say, hey, I am trying to come up with and you have to let it know, 4-page comic script for a story about a Western gunslinger out for revenge that encounters a new type of villain. You'll notice in my prompt that I've already given it my story, right? So it's not writing the story for me. It's basically I've given it the idea here. And what are some things I need to develop? And it'll say, okay, it'll tell you you need a character. Okay, you need to build up your setting, your plot, action, dialogue, all that stuff. Okay, so I only have 4 pages. How about what are some good names for Western gunslingers? Can you give me 10 suggestions? Right. So it starts to give you some ideas. Use it for brainstorming. Use it for organizing. We've got some ideas here. Madeline the Law Monroe. I know when you see stuff like this, I can tell where it's coming from. Where it says, and they have like these things over here. Deadly event. Deadly shot Garrett. Annie Deadly shot Garrett. when you see something like that, it's actually getting it from fantasy name generators. Fantasy name generators. Gunslingers. Cowboys. Where am I? This is pistol name generators. But I think if I go over here, maybe it's cowboy names. Cowboy, cowgirl names. Look at this. This is where they're getting like these and there's neutral names, female names, male names. This is a great way to get inspired because you're kind of just, hitting the random button and Jesse the Cobra Blair. Like that sounds pretty good to me. Jesse the Cobra Blair. And then go back to chat and say, okay, what are some ideas, some good ideas for an unusual villain? I was thinking someone using 1800s technology to become a sort of supervillain. And I'm just kind of riffing at this point. I'm, an inventor gone wrong, a mad scientist, a time traveler, somebody using magic, an accidental villain, an ordinary person who stumbled upon a powerful artifact. Could be an alien artifact, something like that. I'm thinking about like those old 60s Marvel cowboy comics where every once in a while somebody would, I can't stop him, he's the Iron Man of the West, and he'd have like a suit made out of a locomotive or something on him. And then you start drawing it. You start drawing whatever that thing is. Now, how do you know what to draw? It's like, this can give you suggestions. This is the other thing that I like to use, which is TV tropes. TV tropes is all about how to create fiction. It's great to just get lost here, but there's a lot of things that I do. If we put over here in the search, if we just type gunslinger, the gunslinger TV tropes. Okay, here we go. It's pretty good. The hero that guns and gunplay tropes are for. Well, what are those things? You can click on it and link. We got a couple of different styles. A trick shot guy, right? I guess the trick shot guy that, like, what was it? I think it was called The Unforgiven, the one with Val Kilmer in it, where he was, I forgot the name of the character. The Vaporizer. Who cares if one bullet hits when 2,000 rounds will hit? The Woo. He's got bullet time and gun fu. The quick draw guy. The quick draw guy. That's kind of like what was that Timothy Oliphant show? That was kind of his deal. He was a quick draw, right? And then you can kind of see what examples they have. Comic book foes. Batman shows Deadshot as example of a trick shot. Deadpool kind of combines all four, plus Confusion Fu. The series East of West is filled with all types of gunslingers. Judge Dredd is a trick shot thanks to his years of practice, etc. Right, so you get all these ideas, and then you want to try and, you could use ChatGPT. Can you give me, it can give you anything, just brainstorm. It can help you brainstorm. It can keep your plot lines kind of tight, and you want to aim small, is what I'm saying. So there's so many ways that you could kind of do these things. You just have to remember that no matter what anyone says, ChatGPT will not write a script for you. I mean, it will write something, and it'll be a script, but it can't do it unless you engage it. You have to be like, engaged with the chatbot or whatever to do it. Oh, here's another thing that I think is pretty cool. This is called Plotto. Let me show you how this works. I'm going to just do the search. It's Plotto GitHub. Plotto is a book. You can actually get a physical copy of the book on Amazon. If I click on Amazon. But there are free copies of it laying around. So Plotto, this is the book, and it's this Bible-sized book. And they, a various, like, I know there's a free version of it, but you can actually find it online if you go to the Plotto GitHub. They took the book, and all the book is a it's like an interface. So, what is Plotto? Let's find it. Let's launch it. Oh, there it is. The whole thing is online right there. Okay. So they took it and they kind of coded it. They put it together as a form of code. Like, so you could start with just, I'm just scrolling down to the middle just randomly. I don't even know where I'm going to end up. I ended up here on 588. B, that's, okay, you got to learn how to use it, but B is the female protagonist. A is the protagonist. A is the main character. B is like the main character's partner. B, dying, reveals to her husband a closely guarded secret, which he finds greatly perturbing, and it gives you like some, the ones here in like the light blue or light purple here are some other options for you. Okay, so we have this character that's dying. She reveals a secret. 467. And the secret is, they give you an idea for the secret. She's seen her husband exchange a pair of muddy shoes for clean ones, which is to shift the responsibility for a crime to the shoulders of an innocent. So to break it down, you don't have to use this exact example. You go, okay, this wife is dying and she reveals that she knows he's committed a crime, something like that. And that's an idea for a plot. And they actually have things for like action plots and science fiction plots that are kind of woven in here. I just kind of landed on this one by complete randomness. This one's easy to use, totally free, and it'll give you some ideas. So those are, I guess, if we were to break this down, let's go back to here. We have templating, we have tropes, we have brainstorming via ChatGPT, and Plotto. Where is it? Can also help you. I think if there's one thing that happens at the end is you have to visualize your idea and think small and actually do it. Those are the three things. Visualize your idea. Like if you're saying, okay, I want to write a comic, you have to imagine what that comic's going to look like when it's done. That's to start out with. You have to go, okay, this one's going to be, it's going to be, close your eyes and say, I'm going to create a comic. It will be 4 pages long. It will introduce my new character, and it's going to show him doing something. You can't do a story if the characters don't do anything. Like if you have a comic and it just shows the character putting on his clothes, you know, putting on his costume or something, and then it ends, you haven't created a story. You haven't created a story. You got to have a character actually going to do something, even if it's something fairly simple. You know, you still have to have something happen. So visualize your idea. Definitely think small. Start with 4 pages. How do you get a full story done in 4 pages? All I can tell you is it can be done. But you want to think of episodically, small stories. Actually have something going on. Actually have some action. You don't want to have just characters just standing around, talking, looking at things. This is why the chat bots and the AIs can't really make comics. People are like, I'm using AI to make a comic, you know, and they use like the AI art to do it. The characters don't actually do anything in these comics. They stand around and they look at things. So that's not what you want to do, obviously. So, anyways, those are my tips. I hope those help. All right, talk to you later.